Welcome to Darren Daily On Demand, your most trusted resource to help you become better every day. Here's your success mentor, Darren Hardy.
Crisis doesn't build character, it exposes it. Crisis doesn't build leadership, it exposes it. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, when the tide goes out, you get to see who's been swimming naked. And when crisis hits, you get to see who people really are. Jim Rohn would say, time will either promote you or expose you. And a crisis just accelerates that. People fall back to their base level of preparedness. You see, we spend most of our lives with these masks on and this armor. We project ourselves, faking everybody out. And then in a crisis, you're naked. And we get to see who you really are. No clothes, no masks, based on how you responded. So it didn't matter the severity or people's individual circumstances. How did you respond? It's interesting when you watch a lot of these Playmakers. You watch some games, you're sitting on your couch and you're sweating yourself and you're like, oh my God, what would I don't think I could take that shot in this circumstance. I couldn't make that, swing the club to make that putt with this much pressure on. The difference between a playmaker and a regular player is when faced with that sort of pressure, they get excited. Where a normal player, they get fearful. And we saw that happen with the crisis. Some leaders stepped up, took action. It's like they're responding with excitement. Okay, what now? What's possible? How can we turn this around? Let's do right by the right people. And then others just cratered. They just fell under fear. No matter how strong they projected themselves when things were good. So I also think there's a big shift now that we are finally recognizing that it is about stakeholder, not shareholder. Stakeholder means not just clients and customers, but primarily the people within the organization, that they're the primary provider and the ones that you have a responsibility to take care of, first and foremost. So I think that the priority went from profits to people, planet, profits, in that order. The 3 Ps. It used to be profits, right? At the expense of the planet, whatever it took, and at the expense of the people. People were just cogs in the wheel. They were an expense, a necessary part of the equation. And I think it has become abundantly clear now that it starts with the people. It starts with your internal team. It starts with the customers and clients and your vendors and suppliers, your supply chain, and all those people and how a crisis like a pandemic affects them, making those the priority. And if you take care of those, take care of that piece, profits come. That's the amazing thing is that you don't have to focus on profits to end up being the reason why you become so profitable. So I think that's been a shift of making that obvious. It's always been the truth. It's always been the reality, but it exposed it. So I think it exposed people's character and it exposed what should be the priority. And that is taking care of your people. And I'm not saying you're doing it for altruistic reasons. Don't misunderstand me. It's not like, because you're some sort of savior or messiah. You're doing it because that's how you make the enterprise successful. That's how you achieve your mission. That's how you achieve big goals. By not focusing on the goal, but by focusing on the people who make the goal achievement possible on every part of that continuum. We saw a lot of leaders screw this up in terms of reassuring people, denying, minimizing, amplifying the fear or the uncertainty or the panic to their purpose or agenda. And I think it's the exact opposite of that. I really learned this from studying Churchill and other great leaders. And these are 3 points that if anybody's listening, they should write this down. Addressing any crisis, any great challenge kind of comes down to these 3 things. So the first is to give a sober assessment of the brutal facts. Yes, it's a crisis, a pandemic. It's horrible. Churchill would always address what is the sober reality. This is going to be difficult. There are lots of people who are going to suffer hardship. Face the truth, because the people listening want to know that you know. They want to know that you see it as serious and that you're going to take it seriously. So you have to be straightforward with the brutal facts. Even the Stockdale paradox. James Stockdale, who was a POW for 7.5 years in Vietnam, talked about how he survived all those years. And he said, 1, you got to deal with the brutal facts. Don't try to rose color it. This is the reality of the situation. And then the second thing is you never lose hope for the future. But both those things have to operate in tandem.